Meanwhile, Democratic vice presidential candidate Governor Tim Walz will hold his first solo event later today. His first solo event since being selected to the ticket. The governor is set to deliver remarks at a union event in Los Angeles before he then begins a 3-day, 5-state fundraising blitz across the country ahead of the Democratic convention next week. And a self-described dormant Republican and former high school student of Tim Walz admits he didn't always agree with his former teacher politically, but says Walz served as his school's conscience, describing him as an educator who challenged students to consider the value of empathy and a man who sticks to his convictions. Doug Vos, a 2004 graduate of Mankato West High School, recently wrote an opinion piece in the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, which had this title: "A Memo to the Trump Campaign from a Former Walz Student and Dormant Republican." And he joins us now from Minneapolis. Doug, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. So let's just start with your impressions. What sort of teacher was Tim Walz?
Well, good morning. Thanks for having me. And my story in terms of being a student of Tim Walz isn't unique. I think that it's a compliment that when we were kids and before his political career began, folks had a tough time figuring out what his political leanings were. We knew him as a National Guardsman and a gun owner, but also somebody that cared deeply for equality for everyone. So, when it was announced that he eventually was going to run for Congress, in I think it was 2006, folks were interested in whether he was which side of the ticket he was going to run on. But all the stories that have come out from students over the last 10 days or so since the announcement have some commonality, I think, and it's around his embracing of hard conversations and a leader that he was in that small little high school in that small town in Minnesota, and I think that's why he was pulled into public life.
Yeah, Coach Walz is something we hear a lot from the vice president. So, you describe yourself as a dormant Republican. Do you think that Walz speaks to others like you who might say, you know what, I've been turned off by Donald Trump. I haven't always been sure what I feel like on the other side of the aisle, but you know what, Tim Walz, that's a guy I can support.
Yeah, and I think especially in presidential politics, I think there is a larger swath of folks that need to consider, or at least want to consider, character over ideology. And I think that if you look through a character lens at this election, I'm not sure how you could really look past the Harris-Walz ticket. And before we even get into much of a policy debate, I think that hopefully the race is on for the middle of America, where I think most of us are on the political spectrum, and even beyond policy, just on decision-making and judgment. I think in that way, the Harris-Walz ticket does indeed appeal to us.
You characterize Walz as as everyone's favorite teacher. Can you explain to us why you all liked him so much?
Well, I think that you knew that you were going to learn something, and I think that that's maybe oversimplified, but I think that he's a teacher and a human that embraces the fact that you may wake up in the morning and go to bed later that night and have new ideas go into your brain. I think that he encouraged all of us to be curious, whereas I think this, especially the tenor of this campaign up until the last couple of weeks, has been one of closed-mindedness. So, and he was not afraid of introducing and giving voice necessarily to ideas that he didn't agree with. And I think that that's something that we all want to, in order to create a useful conversation. I think we all need to feel open with sharing how we actually feel. And in high school, that was something that he encouraged, which wasn't always par for the course, I think.
Yeah, I think that is right. Former student of Tim Walz, Doug Vos, thank you very much for joining us this morning.